So welcome, Tim Mullen, one of the most successful entrepreneurs to our conference here. Tim Mullen, just to give you an idea, he has established his own company successfully, and he would like to take us through the history of his innovation and what you're doing in the company, and what inspired you at the first place to do that. So can you talk about that, please?
Sure, absolutely. So, should I hold this? So, well, the history of our innovation is basically centered around the fact that we were scientists for many years and engineers working in academia on brain-computer interfaces, on new methods for understanding how the brain works, neurocomputation. And it came to a point where we started to see that the technologies that we were building in the lab were far outpacing what we saw in the real world. And part of that is the nature of academia and the way in which academic infrastructures are not necessarily oriented around translating technology into the real world, but around blue sky innovation. So we created a company to try to bridge that gap. And so our company is named Qusp, and it's really focused on taking the most advanced neurotechnology from the academic world, all the things we learned about over the last 10 years in terms of how to decode brain states, make sense of your emotional state, disease state, or other kinds of states, and put them on a computational framework that works on the cloud and allows you to access it anytime, anywhere through an API, which is very easy for programmers and companies who don't have a lot of experience with neurotechnology. They know how to access this kind of stuff through very simple code-based interfaces. And so that's allowed us to do two things. On the one hand, it's allowed us to have a very wide reach for the kinds of algorithms that we use in the lab, so we can have many different applications of those algorithms. And on the other hand, it's allowed us to create new kinds of technology that are pervasive, where you can measure brain and body states all day long, 24/7, anytime, anywhere. And so that's a bit of the innovative history for how we got started in our company.
Very good for that. Can we talk about something specific, about how the technology works itself, in a bit more details, please?
Yeah, so the technology is, we're in the field of neurocomputation most broadly, but brain-machine interfaces is probably the specific domain in which we operate. So the technology generally works by putting a sensor on your body or your brain. So we actually decode states from the body as well as the brain, but let's just take the brain for example. You'll put a sensor on your brain that records the electrical activity from your brain, and from that we can apply algorithms that try to make sense of that. And so that then gets fed into to perhaps control could be a prosthetic arm, for instance. It could be used to make your car aware about whether or not you are drowsy or fatigued or in some kind of a state. Or perhaps if you're somebody who's depressed, it could be something that changes the ambient lighting in your home to better improve your mood. And the components that make that possible are really driven by machine learning, signal processing, advances in those two main areas, as well as neuroscience. So we're starting to really understand how the brain works now sufficiently. We're still not there yet, in the sense we don't really know what's going on. It's still kind of a black box, but we're getting... Exactly. It's always in development, but we're getting close enough now that we can start to actually make sense of some of these signals, which is very exciting, because 20 years ago, we weren't nearly where we are now in terms of our understanding of what these signals mean, and who knows where we'll be in 20 years from now, right?
Well, can we ask about, it's up to you if you want to answer this question or not. How far are you from getting it ready?
Yeah, so we've just launched our private beta, our closed beta. So we have a community. We're a B2B company, business to business. So we try to enable other companies who have interesting ideas about what you could do with neurotechnology. So imagine you were a new entrepreneur who said, if only I could measure your attention state. What could I do with that, right? And who have great ideas about how to build cool products on those states. We provide them access to those states without them having to know all the details of how to obtain it from a person, right? So we have a community of developers or businesses, companies that are now have access to our platform and are building on it. And we'll be launching our product to the world sometime in this year. So it's not entirely determined when, but it will be in the next couple quarters. So we're very excited about that.
All right. Thank you, Tim, for this information. and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
So, hope you can learn something from these interviews and join the IEEE Young Professionals. There is the next future engineers possible to see the future near. And as you heard from other entrepreneurs, and you can see this in the website in details, in more details, with the white papers and the things available on the global IEEE Young Professionals and Consumer Electronics Society. Thank you very much again.